About a week or so ago, John and I trundled down to Glasshouse and we had a look through Bankfoot House. It's an astonishing thing, and it felt for me like I was going back to my Auntie Mary's farmhouse in Missabotti. And I love the history so much that I thought we should hang out with the Bankfoot House crew for the next 3 weeks. Hello, Peter. How are you?
Hi, Robin. I'm good, thanks.
Now, tell me, you've got a Mary there too, haven't you? That's Mary behind you?
Yeah, I've got Mary and William Grigor behind me.
It was such a common name back then, wasn't it? So many Marys.
Yeah, I think it's all the religious names of the day.
I think so. Tell me a bit about your Mary and some of the things that, well, what's your first piece that you'd like to share from that family?
Well, I might just tell you a little bit about the collection first, actually, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bankfoot House, as you mentioned, it's 134 years, 3 generations of the same family, and they didn't throw anything out. So it's a real treasure trove of archival sources and really a bit of a time capsule of the region's history. So Mary Grigor is the matriarch. The Mary and William founded Bankfoot House back in 1868, and today we're going to show a couple of bits and pieces related to Mary's story.
Fabulous. So what's the first piece?
So the first piece is a letter that we have. I think you are going to show it on screen, but
yes,
try very delicately to hold it up to the camera a little bit.
Wow. So that's the original letter, Peter?
That's the original letter, yeah.
Wow.
It's a very extensive collection here at Bankfoot, and we have a climate-controlled collection storeroom here that we preserve all the documentation and collection here. For visitors to come and see.
And what are they? Who's the letter to, and what's it about?
All right. Well, I might just give you a little bit of a background. So the letter is the letter to Mary from her brother Andrew. Mary's on her way back to Australia after going to England with her employer. She works for Captain John Wickham, that people might know from his connection to Newstead House in Brisbane.
Yes.
And she travelled with them back to England after coming out to Brisbane for a number of years. And her employment with the family ended. And at her choice, she decided to come back to Australia to be with the rest of her family. So travel by sea was treacherous, took quite a bit of time. Sometimes the mail, the letters getting to and fro the ships took a bit of time to get to people. So the family's a bit anxious about where she is and how far along in her journey she is. And this letter tells a bit of that story.
Fabulous.
So I was going to read
Please.
part of the letter if you like. Yep.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so it's from Eagle Farm on December 24th, Brisbane, Queensland, 1861. So just after Queensland separated from New South Wales. It says, "My dear sister Mary, last night we received your letter from Melbourne, and I assure you it removed a load from all our minds. We've been very anxious, all of us, about you since we received Uncle Thomas's letter by last mail, stating the time you sailed from Southampton. But now all doubt is removed and you are blessed by God and safely arrived. Father, myself and Janet wrote each a letter to Aunt in Edinburgh by last mail in which we stated that you had not arrived while at the same time you were safely landed. However, if you have written your letters, we'll go over the same mail, which will set our minds at rest at that store." So you can see that the letters sort of missing each other in the passage on the way. You can have no idea how Father has mourned for your arrival since we knew of your sailing. He sits at the window watching every steamer's smoke rise over the scrub, wondering if Mary be on her. Mother has also been anxious about you. She is well and will rejoice to see you soon return to Brisbane. This is an interesting one. You speak of Melbourne being in advance of Brisbane, but when you come, you will find it much improved, as are the surrounding districts. So a little bit of a shot at how backwards Brisbane was back in 1860. And a little bit of defence from her brother saying it's not so bad. He goes on, I wrote 2 letters to Melbourne for you at the post office to be collected, and they are still there. When Clementina was at our post office yesterday for our letters, she saw your name in a Melbourne list of unclaimed. So that I hope that you have your letters. You do not say when you intend to come to Brisbane. Do let us know in your next if the restrictions will permit you to come at once. So often if people were coming on big sea journeys like that, there were any illness on the ship, they were often quarantined for a period. So Mary was quarantined in Melbourne. That's familiar. So a bit of sickness probably on the ship that she came out to Australia. I'll continue. Janet promised last night to write you, which I have no doubt she will. She's getting on admirably at Mackenzie's. She will no doubt find all your news herself. Clementina is well and all of Jane's family, and I am also in good health. Tomorrow is Christmas, which I hope you will enjoy, although we all expected to be around the family half that day. However, as the Scotch proverb says, come well, come cheerful, which means come in good health. And then the brother talks about someone that she asked about. You mentioned a William Gibson in your letter. He was in our house about 9 months ago. He was then carrying on business in Warwick. Since then, I have not heard anything of him. I will now conclude in the faith of hearing from you immediately on receipt of this, and a meeting altogether very soon, in which we will all join, and I am yours, dear Mary, your loving brother, Andrew Fennick. And then there's a little postscript. Since writing the above letter, your second letter has come to hand, and we are sorry that you have to go to Geelong. Not sure why, but anyway, sorry that you have to go to Geelong. But 1 month will soon pass over, and then I hope you will come to Brisbane in great haste. Love, A. Fennick. So it's possible that was further quarantining, but it's not clear in this one what the reason for that one is.
Sure. I did a quick little bit of research once we understood that she was going into quarantine, and I found that a lot of the ships coming through at that time, if they went into Africa particularly, there were chances of smallpox and typhus. So yeah. I think that they were the 2 main diseases that they were quarantining for. So it's interesting, really, isn't it? Because history is repeating itself, and yes, there's quarantine happening right now.
Yeah, they often, quarantine away from where all the boats were coming in as well. So, and sometimes on islands offshore, so that they weren't spreading it through the population.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that is just fascinating, isn't it? I love the language that they use, and such genuine affection without it being too flowery. It's incredible, isn't it?
And they're almost, chastising her for the mail not getting through as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. Now we're just so used to, look at us now. We're talking, you're down at Glasshouse, I'm in Palmwoods. We're talking in real time and people are watching. Yep. That is so far removed from months that it took for letters to go backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
We've got no concept, do we?
Very different world now.
Yeah. What else have you got to share, Peter?
So the second object is a mourning brooch. Again, I will just raise it quickly to the camera, but I believe you are showing more detailed photos of the item. But so mourning brooches, they were worn to commemorate a person who passed away. So this one contains a lock of hair, but they do date back to as far as the Middle Ages, but they were very popular during the Victorian era, the late 1800s, because Queen Victoria wore one herself. And often whatever Queen Victoria did was very popular and very quickly got taken up by society. So when her husband, Prince Albert, died in 1861, she dressed in black for the rest of her life, and she wore a locket like this, with a lock of his hair in it. So it was fairly commonplace back in those days to keep hair from the departed to commemorate them. And it's often set into jewellery like this, or sometimes made into more elaborate floral tributes, and even tapestries. It was woven into tapestry, which is interesting.
So we can see that that she's wearing it there in that photo. It's on her collar.
Yeah, so we think that in that photo, that's 1895, and we think this is a lock of her mother's hair in it.
Oh, I wondered who.
So her mother, Janet. And then after Mary passed away, the family changed the lock of hair to be a lock of Mary's.
Oh, okay.
So it was kept in the family. Mary passed away on the 12th of August in 1900. So we think the family switched the content to commemorate Mary.
What do you think might have happened to Janet's lock of hair?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess I wouldn't be guessing, but I would think that it could have gone with Mary, since Mary was keeping it as a keepsake.
How lovely is that?
Yeah. No idea. Just a complete guess.
Yeah, but that's a lovely thought, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. So I think that would be correct.
Fascinating. And that's something that, I haven't seen one, but I've heard of them. And I guess something similar to what we do now would be around keeping our baby's teeth. Similar kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Because, I guess, you've got to think back in those days, people didn't have photos. They were fairly rare. It was very rare for a photographer to come through and take a family portrait. So they were often very staged and, formal, whereas I guess this was a bit more of a personal connection to the person. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love those photos. I've got a photo here, and we've got it on camera 3, and we'll just quickly zip to it. So this is my family. This photo was taken in 1913 in celebration of the 50th wedding anniversary of the two people in the centre there, which is Hugh and Annie Moran, and they are my great-great-grandparents, and they were married in 1863, so very similar era to what you're talking about there.
Yeah. And it's a big family photo there as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's so interesting to have that history. What else have you got to show to us, Peter?
The only other thing that I forgot to mention, but there's more things to show you. The other thing I first mentioned about the brooch was some of the gold, the symbolism and the detailing, the decorative frame around the outside. So this and more parts of the collection are on display here at Bankfoot House Heritage Precinct. So we're open now with COVID restrictions lifting a bit. We're now open Fridays and Saturdays from 10 till 3. And because of COVID, again, we have booked the sessions for people to come to. So going back to Sundays in a couple of weeks, but if you're looking to come out in the next week or two, Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And when we were there, we had we had a look through the house, which I absolutely loved. And as I said in my intro, it very much reminded me of Auntie Mary's house, and so she's part of that family that I just showed then.
Yeah.
So you've got.
As I said earlier, it's a really extensive collection. It's about 6,500 objects. So these are just two that we've shared some stories with you today.
That's incredible.
Obviously there's the house set up, but there's a number of outbuildings and a number of other stories and elements and objects here at Bankfoot House. And if you do come out, you can get to have a look at quite a lot of the stories. As I said, someone's in the archival storeroom, but we do temporary exhibitions and change things so people can see different parts of the story and the three different families.
When we were out there, you and your team were saying that you're still uncovering things. It's not that you've exhausted the exploration of the collection and you're still finding out more things. And that's so exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of excitement when a new bit of evidence or a connection's made in the team where we might see a photo and someone suddenly realises where that is and what's in the background. So it's a bit of detective work and a bit of connecting the dots and connections between things.
Yeah.
So and also, the guys are getting their heads around, that's this family member, and so that they're about this age, so that must be this date and that sort of thing. It comes with a bit of knowledge with collection as well now. So
for sure,
we're all learning as we go.
All right, Peter, thank you so much. Which family branch of the family are we looking at next week?
So next week is the Burgess family. It's the second generation. All
right. And what years are they from?
1907, sorry, I've been corrected. To 1960.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. I'm really looking forward to that because I've got some other bits in that timeline as well. So we will catch up with you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you. Have you got historical items from your family? I'd love to maybe see some photos. Put some photos into the comments. Let us know where your family is from and what they were doing and a couple of little stories. It'd be lovely to see it. Thank you. Thanks, Peter.
And correcting me off camera.
I know, that's hilarious, isn't it? I could hear that.
What next week is. That's right.
No, that's brilliant. And I should have asked you about the positioning of the house within that glass house area and between the two peaks and that sort of thing. So maybe next week we might talk about that because that's fascinating as well. And the old Gympie Road, and look, there's just so much to talk about, really, isn't there?
Yeah. No, that's fine. You caught me by surprise and jumped a bit further ahead than I thought we were going at the start, and I thought